2 times cancer survivor.
Business at 55 years old.
You're writing a book.
Vulnerable, and it was raw. Was one of the best experiences of my life.
The life representing art, the art representing life.
There are no coincidences. And now I get to survive it again. My fire wasn't red, it was blue.
Whatever it is, I just want this.
But now I'm lost.
You have to be selfish.
And that's interesting. That to me is a sin. I don't want to let them down. It goes directly to your cell level. Crazy, right?
Crazy. She has answers to every question.
Sky's the limit.
Here, we discuss life adventures, challenges, and the power of personal branding. I'm your host, Julia Juliati. Welcome. My name is Julia Juliati. I'm a portrait photographer, educator, dancer, traveler, and I enjoy meeting extraordinary people. And today, my guest is Andrea Della Mura.
Hi.
So much knowledge. So many things to share.
Yeah.
So Andrea is a 2 times cancer survivor.
Yes.
How you manage this, how you didn't give up on life, how you continue. Let's talk about this for sure.
Yeah.
Andrea is opening her own business. So super useful information for all our viewers, especially women.
Yes.
Who wants to open their business when you're 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever. And you're writing a book. Oh my God.
In my spare time.
How do you find time?
Oh my gosh.
So let's begin. And
Yes.
let's begin with the story how we met.
Yeah.
And it's all happened because of the photograph.
Yes. I am writing a book about my cancer journeys. And as I was writing the book, and it's emotional because it started in my 20s with my first cancer. And as I was writing, I was inspired, and going through social media, I came across your website, and I started to scroll through, and I saw how amazing you made women look. And I kept on coming across it, and there was one photo in particular that I said, wow. I wasn't sure if I was going to have any pictures in the book. And then when I came across this absolutely gorgeous silhouette of this woman, and it spoke to me, it resonated with me.
Why?
It was vulnerable, and it was raw, and it was mysterious. And I was like, wow, like I've done headshots before, like I've done some photography, but nothing like this. And ironically, I reached out to a friend and I said, hey, I'm looking for a photographer. And she said, oh, why don't you contact Julia? I said, all right, let me do that. And of course, I'm looking through and I'm like, oh my gosh, Julia, that's her picture. I'm like, this is impossible. So I came across not only the picture, and then I was referred to you who actually took the picture. So when I reached out, of course, I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't believe in coincidence.
Interesting.
This is insane.
Interesting.
And I was so excited. And of course, I researched a little bit more, and I got on your calendar and I said, we have to do this. And I explained to you about how, all right, I've never done this before, but I'm interested.
You were extremely nervous.
I'm still nervous about it, even just being in the same room doing this. Like I was still, but in the end, like you, first of all, made me feel so comfortable. And we giggled because and if you haven't done this before, it's awkward. It is when but we giggled so hard because literally just the poses, I'm falling over, but you can't see it in the video. But I have to tell you, like, it was one of the best experiences of my life. It's something that I will never forget. And
it was not just glamour dresses. It
No. Oh
was
no.
no clothes.
No, this was
Black and white.
birthday suit. We started out with underwear, and you were like, "All right, get rid of that." I was like, "Okay, like let's see where this goes, folks." And
We were looking for art. We were
were.
looking for art in life. The life representing art, the art representing life. And that was our goal.
My body over the years has been through so much, right? We just talked about how, my first cancer, I was 24 years old, and it was a solid mass in my left breast. And I think back when I was 24, I mean, I had no knowledge of anything. And this is in the 90s. I mean, you know, they didn't put me in a category of, oh, this is probably cancer. They were like, oh, it's fibroid. It is what it is.
Right.
After going through what I went through in surgery, and for the surgeon, who was a woman, by the way, real pioneer of her time, came back and said, I'm sorry, kiddo, but it's cancer. Those are words a 24-year-old doesn't normally hear. But the good news is that it was contained. I did chemotherapy, lost my hair, radiation. I survived this in such a way that I couldn't even appreciate then. I'm 55 today, and I look back going, how the heck did I ever get through that? Family, support, friends. And I honestly think the naive person that I was in my 20s, when I was 39, I was diagnosed again with breast cancer, but a different breast cancer. Who knew? Not me. In my head, I think at that point, you think cancer, one and done, going to be monitored.
So you were still going to the doctors every year,
Very
checking.
good. Very good at that. That was the one thing that I think, for whatever reason, is that I kept my appointments. I did. It was, a no-brainer once a year. And fortunately, my second breast cancer was caught by a mammogram, but not in the way that you may think. It's a bit of a story. And it just goes to show how the stars lined up for me that day. It really did. It was, and we had talked before about like being that there are no coincidences. And I can tell you for sure there are no coincidences, because of the way that it lined up that day for me at that mammogram. What they saw in the mammogram wasn't cancer. It was something. They didn't know exactly what it was, but after the mammogram, we got to go in, we got to figure out what this is. And this is now on the other breast. And so I agreed, let's go in. They did a scoop to see what it was, get the call, and they said, well, what we saw in the mammogram was a calcification. I'm like, fantastic. But what was next to it is a problem. And so they found 1 millimeter cells. Long story short, we go back in to see if we can get clean boundaries. So they went in to scoop to say, is it contained? Is it just, it wasn't. So all the testing that I did mammogram, ultrasound, MRI, physical, nothing. Couldn't find it. The only way they found it was under a microscope. If they didn't see that calcification that day, they would have sent me on my way. It would have been a whole nother year before I did another mammogram.
Your body was giving you clues.
Yeah. My story would have been so much different. So again, keeping those appointments. And it's almost like thinking outside the box, right? It's like we have to know ourselves, know our bodies, listen to those red flags. They're there. And it is not lost on me how incredibly blessed I am. I not only survived cancer in my 20s, I now have 2 kids. And now I get to survive it again. And I don't think I have actually realized the the importance of everything that I went through from my 20s up until probably my early 50s, what it means to me today. It hits so differently.
Right.
I'm able to share my story, my experience of survival. And there's many other things along the way too besides cancer, right? And I'm here to show young women, women in their 30s, women in their 40s, although you're not the same person throughout your life. You're many different women.
Absolutely. I believe that so much.
And women need women.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. The strength that we find it because we have to find it. And we find it through the support systems that we have in place. And for myself, I have found it through my friendships and my experiences. And when a woman goes through something like that, she shouldn't hold on to it. She needs to share it. Because no one behind us or even in front of us shouldn't have to recreate that wheel.
Yes.
And it's part of the reason why I decided that I have to do more. I want more. And I'm opening this wellness business because I want to be able to show not only the women in my life, I want to show everyone in my life that if I can survive the things that I have survived, still have a positive attitude, my glass is half full. Mm-hmm. It's half full. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have days, don't get me wrong. My glass is half full. If I can open a business at 55 years old and bring a wellness business to my own community and show people what it is to be proactive in their life, in their health, in their lifestyle.
Right.
We can expand the quality of our life, not just the quantity, but the quality of our life. Mm-hmm. And not just exist, but to start living. That's important.
Yeah. For a woman in her 50s and she decided maybe I should open my own business, what would you suggest? What road to take? How would you suggest to start? What does she need to do first?
That's a great question. And the first thing that pops into my mind is know your passion. Don't just do something to do something. Especially in your 50s, if you have that opportunity, find what it is that lights your soul on fire. Because then it will happen more naturally.
And the money will come.
It will come. You will find it. You will find it. I started this and I just scratched my head and said, uh-oh, like how the heck am I ever going to do this? I worried a lot. I manifested throughout, but do your due diligence and research the heck out of it because, I mean, it is a business. So you have to be savvy in that sense. But I wasn't looking for a 9-to-5 job. I wasn't looking to work really for someone. But I wanted to create a world for myself and my family that was quality and had purpose. Because once you find your purpose, or so what you think is your purpose, and what I'm finding is that my purpose last year of opening the DripBar was just the business. I realized going through the motions that I'm just scratching the surface. There's so much more.
And that's exactly interesting point, that it's not that you search the whole life for the one purpose. No. Purpose changed. Purpose will depends on where you are in the stage of your life. I can have a purpose for 10 years and then, okay, I'm done with this. Let me go this way.
And it's
So there are
stepping
no
stones.
mistakes.
There
That's
are
what
none.
I'm saying.
And being 55, you know, it's a scary number in one way, because I think, oh wow, like if I was 10 years younger, and then I think when I was 10 years younger, I was not ready for this.
I'll say the same.
It's the building, right? It's the building blocks that we have, and that it's the experience, and also the spiritual side of it as well, is that, like, I know that everything happens in its own time. Now, I think sometimes when we let our brains take over, that's what creates the anxiety, because we always feel like maybe we should be somewhere different, or a little farther along, or on a different path. And sometimes I feel in the last few years, if I sat back, the hardest thing for me was sitting with myself. When you face yourself, and I'm talking your own demons, I'm talking your own anxieties, because we doubt ourselves. We get too far into our brains, where we feel that, are we doing the right thing? Is this the right thing? The outside world will help us believe that maybe we're not meant for this. That's when the quiet times.
Right.
And listen, I probably cry twice a day, because, and not a bad cry. It's more of a, wow, like it hits me. It hits me so deeply.
Well, it's the honesty. And the honesty is the most difficult thing. And in the same time, the honesty is most freeing thing. But you have to be brave enough to go to that point and face it.
So the name of my book is Be Brave.
Wow.
And
I have goosebumps already.
and my tattoo is Be Brave. This is what I'm naming it after. I never thought in a million years that I would be writing a book. I never thought that I'd have this Be Brave. But there's something that just resonates so deep. And that's what it is. And I've had people over the last 30 years say to me, like, how did you do it? Like, how are you so brave? And the only thing I could think of is like, what choice did I have? I didn't really have. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. There was a part of my life that I just existed. Mm-hmm. It's that phase.
And it's good to share with other women, and then you realize, oh my God, I'm not the only one, the outsider, the weird one. No, everybody goes through the stages.
And most people put up a front, or they look in on you and they're like, oh, well, you look so put together. And I'm like, inside, I am not so put together, and I struggle and I doubt, and I've come a long way. Mm-hmm. I'm very proud. And I think in my head, wow, I've checked a lot of boxes off. And I think where the anxiety, I think, comes today for a lot of people, including myself, is the future. It's an excitement, but there's a lot of factors. And you manage that. We manage that through surrounding yourself with other strong people like yourself. And I know some of your story, you know some of my story. And the bottom line is, all we have is ourselves in the end, because you have to get up off the sofa and do it. Yeah. I have to do it.
Have you ever been a businesswoman? Have you ever had your own business? Or this is a completely new road?
So I guess two things. So my family, a lot of entrepreneurs, mm-hmm. but not female entrepreneurs. In my early 20s, I was a buyer for two different industries. So my skills of negotiation were quite good. I had a lot to prove in my early 20s before I had my first cancer experience. And I learned a lot. And then when I backed off of working outside the house and concentrated on having a family, I chose to do that. I did. I chose to be a mom and take on that role. I have now I have 23 and a 20-year-old boys, and it feels like a lifetime ago. But my younger son was sick for a decade, not well. And so I advocated for him throughout the years with his autoimmune disease and watched him really struggle throughout. So I wasn't able to go back to work necessarily outside the house. And so fast forward, I have never worked for myself other than in the home. And now branching out over the last couple of years, you realize that I don't have to recreate the wheel. All I had to do is actually bring it back out of me. I always had it. I think my mom said it best last year. She said, you know, as a kid, you had such a fire inside of you. And I'm a Sagittarius, so that's my element anyway. But she said that my fire, I had such rough edges. She said, oh, I always try to smooth over those edges like that. You know, and she goes, but I realized, especially after your first cancer, that God gave you those edges for a reason, because you needed those edges. You needed to be that really sort of like rough and not really care too much about what people thought of you, and always spoke my mind, sometimes a little bit too much. She said, my fire wasn't red, it was blue. She goes, that's how deeply like your flame was, so hot. And over the years, dealing with illness, dealing with, you know, not only my own, but my son's, and, you know, not having all the answers and being very lost. You know, we won't even talk about COVID, right? So this past couple of years, she recently said to me, I see it again. It's coming back. It's coming back.
Wow.
And I feel it because I over time felt like I lost the edge of who I was as a woman, as a person, as just a human. I didn't feel I was smart. And I did this to myself. Like no one did this to me. I did this. I lost
We
my
always do this to
confidence.
ourselves.
This is all me. I always had the support. This was all me. And so I always believed everyone around me, like, oh, that must be the way to do it. Or, you know, oh, I should do it a different way. Something just flipped. And I think what it was, and I can look back at it now, a few years ago before I bought this business, I think I realized that I hit rock bottom. I did. I sat back and I just gave it to God. I really did. I sat back and said, I know there has to be a reason why you allowed me to survive cancer not once but twice, and it's not lost on me. But now I'm lost. I don't know where I'm supposed to go, what I'm supposed to be, but I just knew the path that I was on, that it wasn't right. I was so lost. And I had that private conversation with God and said, if this is it, I'm done. Like, if this is what you have for me, take me home. I will be your soldier at home. Like, I'm ready. I'm just ready. And when you throw it out to the universe like that, I'm not even kidding. It was like a week later. I got a call from my cousin, family member, hadn't heard from him in a while. Said, hey, let me ask you something. Have you ever heard of IV vitamin hydration before? And I'm sitting back like, all right, why? What's going on now? This is something in my life that I've been doing a long time, but I just didn't really talk about it because it was a part of my health. It was a part of what I did to sustain. And it was something that opened up doors for me that I was like, I know about this. I felt, I could feel it. And it grew and it grew.
The answers start coming to you, but you had to be open.
Because
We just talked about this
yeah, we
before
did.
the interview.
I just said, I just gave it.
Everything comes to you once you start opening yourself. And yes, I'm ready. I want this. Whatever it is, I just want this.
And the change.
And you start attracting.
Yes. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I haven't dysregulated my entire family over this, because when I do things, I tend to do them like full-fledged. I go in, boots on the ground, and I go in hard. And I realized that, wow, I could be good at this. And again, we're not open yet. We're building this thing out. And every day, I have taken another step towards building, but not just this business, not just writing this book, but building myself, building my own brand, and discovering who I am as a human, building who I am as a woman, but not in a selfish way. At times it may seem that way to my family, but taking that time.
But you know what about selfish? We assigned this negative thought to the selfish, but selfish can be so positive. I think, especially when you hit the rock bottom and you don't know what to do, the thing is to become selfish, to fight for your own self, to have everything just about you so you can rise and you can fly again. You have to be selfish. And yes, it's uncomfortable to other people.
It is.
Because you becoming somebody else that they're not used to, that they're not so comfortable with.
Because they have to change that.
Exactly.
And your relationship with them
so
changes.
you have to fight for yourself and you have to become selfish. That's my theory, and it works for me, and I think it works for everybody.
It's
But
hard.
for some reason, people have this negative.
I think society tells us that we, as women especially, we have to give. We are caretakers. And we are all those things. We absolutely are.
But it has to be balanced.
It
has
does.
to be balanced, for sure.
But balance is a tricky word too. And let me tell you why balance is a tricky word. Because I've had a lot of people come at me with the word balance as well. This is my take on balance. Whenever you are creating something that takes a lot of energy, it's really hard to balance that, because your energy has to shift hard to build. And a lot of times you have to go all in. So you're giving, now maybe you're giving 70% to that and only 30% to the other stuff. It's those 30% that start feeling your shift. And so even with my children, who are not children anymore, they're young adults. They still need their mom. My relationship with them has shifted a bit because mom has taken back a bit of herself with her time and the things that I used to do for them as much. It's a positive thing now. I see it now. It's been hard because it is a struggle for the family. They probably cannot see it now because I'm struggling to see it as well. But in the end, to see me happy and strong and thriving,
Right.
compared to existing, getting through the day, managing, it's a big difference. Because they haven't seen it yet. I'm not leaving you behind. I'm building these bridges that they're strong enough that we can
Another
all.
thing, I'm not leaving you behind. You can follow me or you can stay.
Yes.
That's your choice.
And I'm building
And
that
they
bridge.
have to be responsible for that choice.
The bridge is going to be strong. Julia, the bridge is going to be strong.
And that's
Walk
about
with
all
me.
your friends, all the people around. Everybody have to take responsibility for yourself first.
And that's interesting because surrounding myself with strong people, the right people, I've had to, as many people have before, leave people where they are. And as we vibrate a little bit higher, they have to be able to vibrate with you. They have to
Absolutely.
be able to meet you where you
Absolutely.
are.
Yes.
We are no longer going to be small, play it small, live in a little box. That to me is a sin. Because on the spiritual side, again, like I feel as though God gave us special gifts. And if we do not pursue them, that's a sin. As I grow, there's going to be more people that enter my life. And I have boundaries. I'm working on them. I'm working on boundaries. I realize now that some people come into our life as lessons, as seasons, to teach us things, and they're not always meant to stay. And that's hard. Determining where they come with you, where they land. I think that time will show. In the meantime, I'm going to continue growing and being there as a mom. I'm a good friend, and I'm a good listener. But I'm going to take care of myself, my health, my well-being.
Recently, I talked about another podcast about self-love. And I created my self-love list. So I put all the events or treatments or experiences that brings me energy, that charge me. So what it is for you? We can call it self-love. I love to call it self-love. We can call it self-care.
Great
What
question.
is it for you that brings you energy?
It's a combination. And so there's the obvious, right? There's the obvious, like there's the, your manicure, your pedicure, your outside stuff, right?
Trust
your
me.
massage.
It's not obvious for many.
Then I'm doing okay. So, there are those little things. It's also, for me, it's about quality relationships, spending time with the people that bring out the best in you. Also, experimenting with the things that you're just not quite sure about. When I talk about self-care, I talk about feeding my soul. I also talk about the quiet times. I will retreat to my room sometimes very early, most very early, because I use a lot of energy during the day. And I'll sit in bed and I will literally just reflect in the quiet moments. And it's not about replaying my day. Because a lot of times that's what I would do and be like, oh, what went wrong? How could I do it differently? What would I do? I shifted. And the first angle I go for is, what am I grateful for? And as I do that, and then it's like, what I would have changed maybe, and then maybe approach it a little bit differently. It's this space that my family and my friends have allowed me to have so I can think. And there's a poem that was introduced to me, and I always go back to it, and it's called The Guest House. And if you don't know it, I will send it to you. And it's all about opening the door to all of those things that you either don't want to face, or it's hard to face, or that you've been running from. Let it in and just sit with it. Sometimes you'll find that it's not as daunting as maybe you thought it was. And sometimes it is as painful as you thought it was. But at the end of the day, there are things we can't run from. And if you allow it to be able to sit with it, for me, that's a part of my self-care, because I'm trying to take care of myself from the inside out. And I realize that if I face the things in my life head on, it'll strengthen me for what the future has and what's coming. Because this girl's ready. I'm ready.
I have this reward system.
I love it.
If I accomplish certain goals that I planned for, I buy myself treats in forms of beautiful dinner in a special place, or like a vacation, or a very expensive thing. I love shoes. And
What girl doesn't love shoes?
Do you have this? How do you reward yourself? Do you reward yourself? Or you don't think it's important?
Oh, I think it's really important. That's such a great question, I talk about having carrots.
Carrots.
Meaning like a carrot out there, that you're like, oh, I see that. So I motivate myself. And I guess I don't have a reward system, but I think I'm going to look into that. I think that sounds really quite, listen,
really
it does. Listen, do I say, okay, I'll go get a massage, or I'll go do something very special for myself. But a lot of times that's at the end of okay, I need a break. Not necessarily what I've earned though. So I like the way you said that. Thank you for that, because I'm going to hold on to that.
I experienced this for many years already, and it's working for me. Wow. Because when my body, my soul receive the reward, I have much more energy to make another goal and to accomplish that goal, because I feel there's a reward too. I love the process, of course, but I like the reward as well. So it's kind of double.
I guess for me, the reward right now is I'm in the process of hiring a staff for my business, and I manifest being inside the business already. I'm already there. I'm already watching it in my head.
That's a goal.
That's a goal. No, I'm going to get better at the rewards. So, I feel, what, I talk about being brave. I talk about the things that I've been through in my life. I'm very blessed. I am a really blessed woman, and I'm discovering new things all the time. And I think with being as open as I am, I think that I almost feel like if I put it out to the universe, something really good is going to find me. Good people are going to find me.
Tell me 5 new things you want to learn, discover, experience.
Oh, wow. Well, I think being a boss.
Okay.
Being respected, and being somewhat of someday an expert in my field. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to continue to help people, whether it be to inspire them, to open their eyes, to remind them that there's so much living to be done. Existing doesn't serve anybody. Understand that journey and what you're going through. Get out of your comfort zone and take that next step. You cannot grow if you sit inside your comfort zone. I am doing all of these things. I'm writing this book that is very, very uncomfortable because it is about my journey. And I'm writing and I'm reliving in my head the past 30 years of...
That must have been hard.
I have to sometimes just close, my laptop and be like, whew, let me breathe on this. When I got to the part about like my dad's passing and, I was visually seeing this in my head and I'm like, this is hard. This is hard. Cancer has been such a big part of my life.
Why do you think it's important that you write the book and share with other people? Why it is
Well, it
important
took
for
me
you?
5 years to actually get to that point. You know what? Honestly, I think it's just the time. I think I'm being brave enough.
Is it kind of a closure?
It is. So what's so funny is that there's the end of the book, and that part that I'm writing, because it's multiple layers, the book. There's 3 parts to the book. So the part that ends usually in conclusion, we took that word out. I said that word, for whatever reason, is just triggering me. And it's going to be continued. Because those chapters, that book, like, as incredibly painful, it has made who I am today. And the reason why I get so I get emotional, because unselfishly, in my heart, in my mind, I think back through those chapters and the people that I lost that didn't get that second, third chance that I have. And I guess a part of me, I don't want to let them down. The happy part is that in my heart, I'm not going to let them down. It's not going to happen. I'm writing this book because I want to show people the strength and moving on, but I'm bringing in other survivors that have been on their own journey, different than mine, similar to mine. So my reader can dig into the book. If they don't resonate with my story, maybe one of the other stories that are being told, they can. And they can get something out of it and share with their loved ones. But the biggest part of the book, what I'm really excited about, is the book will be a resource for others. And inside each chapter, there's going to be a lifeline. There's going to be a QR code in there that the reader can go into, and it's either through the chapters, it's either going to take them to a website to help them. It's going to take them to a poem, a podcast. It's going to take them to other resources, so that when my book is out there and on a bookshelf somewhere over the years, collecting dust, my reader can go in and go to these items and they'll always be relevant.
Once it's there, we will gonna put the link.
Thank you.
Where to buy the book. So
Absolutely.
follow us for sure.
Oh,
for
I can't
more
wait.
exciting information.
There's so
And to
much
be
more
continued.
coming. Yes, to be continued. Exactly. I'm excited.
So what are your major goals in life? Let's say, how many years you want to say? 10, 20, 30? You choose.
Sky's the limit.
Yes.
The sky's the limit,
What
you
would you
know?
like to do? Give me some
Gosh.
crazy goals.
Crazy, right?
Crazy, of course.
I'm inspired by
Please do.
you. I'm inspired by podcasting. I'm inspired by following in the footsteps of strong women like yourself. And I know for me, as I'm building this IV vitamin hydration business and be able to help my community, and we're going to launch a mobile unit to be able to come to people who can't maybe get to us, to launch this book in the fall, and then possibly my own podcast. And also possibly one day, maybe speaking on stage, maybe inspiring others and give them hope.
And we're going to put the link to the
Absolutely. 20
DripBar,
Printer Street at the
yes,
DripBar.Rye.
at the
We are
video.
building out. We're going to be doing, this is so good. We're going to be doing not only IV vitamin hydration, we also have a lot of great wellness services that we're going to be bringing in over time.
Tell
And
me
yes,
IV hydration.
Yes.
Why it is important,
Oh,
why
yeah.
you should try, why everybody should try, and what benefit it gives you.
well, I have to tell you that this is something I've been doing a while. And people will say, well, I just take my oral vitamins. And so do I. I do that every day. The difference with IV vitamins is it goes directly to your cell level, and it doesn't have to be digested. It doesn't have to bypass your stomach and your intestines. And the reason why I started it in the beginning was because my health history. I was a preemie when I was born. I had IBS as a teenager. I went through chemotherapy in my 20s. I had strep throat growing up. I was on antibiotics probably 4 or 5 times a year. My gut health could not absorb everything that it needed through foods and even oral vitamins. Was it a part of my cancers? Maybe, right? We'll never know. What I do know is that oral vitamins, you're lucky to get 20 to 30% at most if you even have a good gut health. That's not enough.
And IV?
IV, 98% of that vitamin is going to
That's a
feed
big difference.
your cells. We don't treat and we do not diagnose. We support.
And everybody should try it. Andrea is super knowledgeable, so just come for consultation. And you
Come
have
in.
a beautiful promotion as well, also for the first treatment.
Absolutely.
Is 25% off for the
Yes.
first treatment. You
Come
just
in and
have to
try.
come
Come
and
in, try us.
It's
If you
not
like
that
it,
scary, actually.
if you like
I
it,
did
buy a
myself.
membership. Yeah. You know, this is it. Try it. Listen, I'm so willing to work with so many different people. I'm doing this because I want people to understand to be proactive instead of reactive with their health. Give it a chance. Come in, check out our other services. And there are people who are afraid of IVs. This is true. I've had people say to me, well, I've had chemotherapy. I'm not really a needle person. Girl, tell me about it. I've been there, done that. I've had so many surgeries. I get it. And we use pediatric needles. So I promise you, it's not as uncomfortable as you think. And we do IM shots, intramuscular shots. So if you don't have time for a drip, come on in and you can get a shot and you're on 5 minutes and you're out the door.
She has
This is it.
answers to every question.
I really,
So-
I try. Listen, it's about being proactive, right? And we
Right.
all want to live a quality, healthy life because without your health, what do you have? Take care of yourself inside and out. Live your best life. Feed your cells.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. It is my pleasure. I'm so inspired. I'm
So
inspired by
much more
you.
coming. I'm
Can't
so
wait.
happy for everything that's happening in your life.
Oh.
Follow the podcast, check the links, check Andrea's business, check Andrea's book.
Thank
Follow
you.
my links as well. It's all underneath the video.
Perfect.
And
Thank you. Thank you for your time
thank you.
today. I appreciate you.
Awesome.
Thank you.